suit or pajamas, take your pick. So when I was at my local tech store trying to relieve my addiction, or trying to alleviate my tech addiction, I saw this mouse from Thermaltake and it was $19. It was in Japanese yen, it was 1,900 yen, which is probably even cheaper in a dollar equivalent. And so I thought to myself, wow, how bad or how good can this thing be for $20? So I decided to buy it and put it through the test since I was testing a lot of gaming mice recently. And man, this thing surprised me. Kudos, I'm going to say before we do this review, kudos to Thermaltake for bringing in a product for $20 that is, in my opinion, exceptional value for money. So anyway, let's get on with the review and I'll talk about this mouse. So as soon as you get the product, I mean, the good experience just starts from the get-go. It's boxed really well. It'll take a beating in shipping, and it also gives you a feeling like you're getting a good product, especially one for $20. In my opinion, it comes boxed better than products that cost twice its price. For instance, the Logitech G302, which I have to review. But on that note, when I took the mouse out of the box, I was impressed yet again. The build quality of this mouse was actually pretty sturdy. I mean, this thing weighed in at 104 grams with the wings on, and without the wings on, it weighed in at about 95 grams. And now this is an interesting mouse because essentially it can do both a claw grip and both a palm grip. And so for those people who play FPS and prefer a palm grip, this mouse will do that. It probably won't do it as well as, for instance, my Logitech G400. However, it'll still be a great option for people who want a palm grip or people who especially want to try out both grips and don't know which grip they prefer yet. And so when you took the wings off, the great thing about it was it reduced the weight of the mouse by 10 grams, which in my opinion, if I'm claw gripping, I prefer a lighter mouse, also a smaller mouse. So it made the sides smaller. It also dropped the weight down to 95 grams, which I consider a little bit too heavy for a claw grip, but it's still at the same time, it was very good. I mean, it was better, in my opinion, it was better than the SteelSeries Connor, which I recently reviewed. So kudos to Thermaltake for introducing a mouse that does claw gripping and palm gripping pretty well for $20. Now onto the sensor itself. When I was using the actual mouse in practice, the tracking was pretty good. It wasn't as good as my Logitech G400, and I couldn't do flick shots as well as my G3, but it was still a great mouse in terms of the sensors. I think it has the Avago 3050 sensor in there, which is an optical sensor, sort of like a budget Avago optical sensor. Though it did a good job of tracking, I didn't notice, I mean, if there was angle prediction, I didn't notice it. So the sensor itself does get some points. Now let's move on down to the clicking, which is an important part of the mouse. The clicking was exceptional, it was very consistent. I believe they put Omron switches in the main left and right click, which honestly, I love these switches. They're very consistent, they sound identical to one another when I was clicking them in practice. The middle mouse scroll button, that is a little bit loose, but I could still reliably use the up and down scroll function. For instance, when I'm changing weapons in Advanced Warfare, I can reliably use that and not count on it overstepping or double scrolling. The actual middle scroll button, it was a nice click, although I never personally use the middle scroll button, as when I do, I tend to actually move the scroll wheel up and down as well. Let's talk about the side buttons though. They've got a solid click to them and they're actually really reliable and easy to use in practice. It's got the back and forward if you're using Internet Explorer or Google Chrome or your web browser. You can use that to go back and forward with pages as well as assigning them to buttons in, for instance, League of Legends or whatever you play, you can assign them to item slots. Now moving on to the feel of the mouse, which is an important thing to me. This mouse felt fantastic, both when I was palm gripping it and both when I was claw gripping it. Not as good as my G3 or my G400, though they are more expensive mice. However, it did feel really good, it felt comfortable, the sensor was pretty good, and the Teflon feet on the bottom of the mouse allowed for it to track pretty well on generally a lot of different surfaces. So I found myself being impressed with the build quality, impressed with everything on this mouse. It wasn't great in everything, it wasn't the best mouse I've tried, but it was a good mouse overall. It did claw gripping pretty well, did palm gripping pretty well. So ultimately, it was a great hybrid mouse. So let's quickly talk about a few things before we move on to the conclusion, and that is the grip of the mouse. The surface is like a matte surface on the top there, and you can pretty much, it grips your hand really well. It's not too grippy or it's not too coarse. At the same time, it's not too smooth as well. You'll be able to grip this mouse perfectly fine. When I removed the wings of this mouse, it was more of a glossy feel, although it was still very grippy. So it was like they put no lacquer on there. So it was, gripping this mouse was perfectly fine in my opinion. Now let's move on now to the lighting quickly before we move on to the conclusion. And it's got now, you can see, probably if you see it in the background here, you'll see that it's breathing. That's not changeable. I don't believe there is any software for this mouse, which honestly I don't like. Personally, I don't like gaming mouse software. I believe in some cases it can add input lag. So the fact that this has no mouse software is actually a plus for me. I like it. The lighting effects though, it's only you can only do it in breathing mode. So that's all you get essentially is the mouse. It'll just cycle through 5 different colors in normal operation. However, those colors are not just there for fancy gimmicks. They actually indicate, if you actually press the mouse button, they'll indicate what DPI setting you're using. So if you press it the first time, I believe red is for 500 DPI, the next color is for 750 DPI, and then the next color after that, I think it's light blue, is 1500 DPI, and then the next color after that is 2500 DPI, and then the next color after that is 3000 DPI. So personally, I found myself using 750 DPI in FPS, and I found myself using 1500 DPI in RTS. So ultimately, the home settings on this mouse are really good. I think anyone will enjoy it. It's got 5 different settings there for DPI. Now also about the cable, it's a braided cable, but something else about this cable impressed me. It's very malleable. If you bend this cable, it'll pretty much stay in that shape. So I was very impressed with the cable. Again, I had to remind myself this was a $20 mouse, so it came feature packed. One thing I will point out though, there was no mention of 1000 Hertz polling, and it does kind of make a little difference on a mouse though, so it's only going to run at 125 Hertz as opposed to most gaming grade mouse, which will run at 1000 Hertz. I mean, it might have 1000 Hertz polling, I just couldn't find it on the box anywhere, so I'm going to assume that it doesn't have 1000 Hertz polling, or at least the option to enable 1000 Hertz polling. Anyway, with that being said, let's move on now to the conclusion. So in conclusion, what can I say about the Talon? Man, I'm very impressed. This is a $20 mouse that pretty much does almost everything. I mean, it's not the best at everything. It's not the best claw gripping mouse that I've tried. It's not the best palm gripping mouse that I've tried. But honestly, it hits all the marks pretty well. It's got a nice braided cable on there. That's one of the best braided cables I've seen in my life for a mouse. The clicking, it's got on-run switches, sensor, it's got an Avogo sensor in there. The clicking on the sides, very solid and reliable. The mouse scroll wheel was pretty decent. The lighting, it's useful as well. It lets you know the DPI settings, and there's 5 different DPI settings to choose from without installing any bloatware. So honestly, what can I say, man? But I can't be nothing but impressed with this mouse. It's a great sort of gateway mouse. You know, just like marijuana is a gateway drug, right? It's a great gateway mouse. Sort of if you don't know if you like using a claw grip or a palm grip, you can get this mouse and you can try both. Hell, you might even like this mouse, or it might even become your most favorite mouse out of all mice out there. So who knows, right? Marijuana is some, again, marijuana. It's some people's favorite drug, so who knows? Anyway, all I'm going to say is I really like this mouse for $20, amazing value for money. Thermaltake, great job on making an affordable product that everyone will, I'm sure, appreciate for $20. One thing I will say before I go is this mouse, honestly, if you guys want to check out, there's this Anker mouse pad. It's $8. So if you're looking for a gaming mouse pad that actually goes really well with this mouse, then you may wish to check out this. I found this was exceptional value for money in terms of a nice solid mouse mat. It's $8, I believe. Really good mouse pad, really goes well with this mouse. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions about the Talon, the Thermaltake East or TteSports Thermaltake Talon, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Also, do you enjoy this kind of style review over me just putting the mouse on the mouse pad? Or let me know in the comment section below. Anyway guys, I look forward to your feedback. Peace out for now. Bye.